Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bionis from Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to us not only on the website but also on iTunes, be sure to check us out on Stitcher as well. Stitcher is an iPhone, Android app, also on other smartphones. You can download for free. And also registration is for free too. It's an app that you can listen to any podcast that is on there without ever downloading a file. When you register with Stitcher, be sure to put in promo code Mission Start or Conover or both, and you get to automatically be entered into a $100 prize every month from Stitcher. So be sure to check us out, support us, and we'll support you guys. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bionis from Mission Start Podcast, and we have another edition of the Conover. Tonight, joining me is the ever-lovable Christopher Sturm.
Yellow.
And tonight, we're going to talk about Sacramento's Wizard World, and then we'll also wrap up SacCon at the end. And now, to just a preference, Wizard World is doing a kind of a grand tour in the U.S. right now. It's going from state to state, and it's having its comic book convention, kind of like WonderCon in many ways. So one of these places that I decided to stop by is Sacramento. And Sacramento, to my knowledge, aside from SacCon, it has never really had a true comic book convention. It's always been anime conventions in Sacramento. So this is the first for Sacramento, for sure. And when you were there, Chris, I forgot to preface that it's being held at the convention center downtown, same place like anime was. But Chris, when you were there for the 2 days you were there, exactly what was the crowd like? Because usually when we Sac animes that we've been to, like it's very young, very hyper extensive kids doing whatever. But like we're dealing with a much older, mature crowd. Like, what can you describe as far as like the feeling there?
Well, when I first got there, as we've used the term a few times before, the crowd basically made up LineCon, where, I'd say that on day one, the line was probably about anywhere between, I'd say, half to 3/4 of a mile long before they opened the gates. And I've taken several pictures to give a quick idea as to how long the line was. And the thing is that trend also continued on Sunday as well, where we went out from the front of the convention center all the way down to one end, followed that all the way down to nearly the Memorial Auditorium, and went down another street before the line actually ended. So
this was on Sunday?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
And the thing is that I actually got there as they were letting people in. I got there at about 10:30, and the line still went all the way past K Street.
Wow, that's nuts to believe.
Yeah, and I didn't get any figures for how many people were supposed to be in attendance, but just based off of what I physically saw, it blew out. It blew any convention that we've previously experienced here in Sacramento right out of the water.
Yeah, I was watching. Was it KCRA did a report on it and said that the organizers of the convention said that they were very impressed with the numbers and plan to come back again next year, which is they did sold out. Like all their badges were sold out. So Sacramento is a very hungry for a comic book convention. So I'm kind of surprised, but it's cool that happened.
Yeah, and not only that, but well, to go back on to what you had mentioned about them coming back, If I remember right, they did say that they were looking at coming back sometime in June 2015, most likely around the middle of the month.
Right. Which is a good timing. I mean, like in between the major conventions happening in the con season, usually in this time, or starting from now up until like the end of the summer, they pick a right spot. I think I want to say it depends on what date is the Otakon Las Vegas, or I know there's some convention going on in June that's in Las Vegas. I can't remember which one, but I could be wrong. But they pick a good spot though for sure, because
Yeah, seriously.
it's like right after Fanime and right before Anime Expo.
Yeah, the only thing is that, um, again, based off of news reports and just again off of how well this convention did over this past weekend, if it goes according to plan, they're going to end up using the entire convention center, and I can easily see the cost of tickets going up. And for those that are regular con hoppers, it is possible that it could cause them to have to choose between, okay, do I want to go to Otakon or do I want to go to Wizard World Sacramento Comic Con,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
For sure. Um, One of the things that stood out to me this convention, and it still surprises me, especially with SAC Animes, is that the organizers of this convention brought us some big names that I didn't expect would come to Sacramento. Stanley, Chris Hemsworth. I mean, Lou Ferrigno, but he's at every other comic convention really at this point. Um, William Shatner, that's an interesting one. Uh, the uh, the actor, I can't remember his name. Evil Dead Ash.
Oh, Bruce Campbell?
Yes, Bruce Campbell. How can I forget that name? Bruce Campbell came. Yeah, these are some pretty like B to A plus tier actors and kind of people known in the world. So it still surprises me how they can still get these top names to come to Sacramento. But it's pretty cool that they did though. Um, yeah. Oh, you know what's funny? I forgot to mention this. So you know that picture you took of the guy from Walking Dead? Um,
Oh, Norman Reedus?
yeah, that picture actually when I went on Twitter, that spread pretty like wildfire. No kidding, because I was like looking at my iPhone, I was like, why am I getting so many retweets? And I looked like, oh, that's why. It's a picture of you. It's a picture you took like in the crowd where like everybody's trying to take the same picture of him with their phones and the iPod out. Yeah, that spread pretty widely. It's like holy shit.
Yeah, and for that one shot I was able to get, where it was actually kind of like a close up at Norman's face. Just to give everyone some perspective, I had the zoom on my iPhone 5S, which I mean it has a pretty good camera on it,
Mhm.
but I had that set to maximum zoom just to get him in there. I was lucky to have like people move out of the way just enough to get that single shot of him.
Mhm.
But when it came to trying to get it when he was first over there, I figured, no, I have to take a picture of the crowd to give people some perspective. There was about 300 plus people all crowded around that area, and some were even climbing on each other's shoulders to try and take pictures of him.
I'm not surprised, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Um, but yeah, man, that picture you took, it spread pretty quickly on Twitter. So
Well, I'm glad.
yes.
And but what really made me happy was that picture I was able to snag of Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah.
And you've seen that on my personal page.
Hmm.
But I was in the crowds of people where they were trying to take pictures of Chris before he was about to go and get ready for his panel. And I ended up getting pretty close to him. I'd say I was no more than like 25 feet away.
Hmm.
He saw my camera and he posed, and I have never fangirled as hard as I did before.
I can only imagine. Just like what did your oh man. Yeah, I can't imagine. Um, but like, this was your first comic book convention that you've been to aside from SciCon?
No, I was over at WonderCon 2011,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and I got to meet Lou Ferrigno there, and I have to say, from the few years that it's been, I actually do want to make an apology to the comments that I've made about Lou Ferrigno.
Okay.
Because in WonderCon 2011, I first met him, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He was a complete jagoff, and um, the most notable instance was that someone took a picture of him, and he, happened to catch that. He got his security guards to come pull the guy over, and made him cough up $40 for the picture.
Damn. Nuts.
But yeah, but now, when he was over at the Sacramento Comic Con, he seemed so much more laid back and was like, okay, I'm here for the fans. And like he was really a team player. And in fact, the only downside that I had regarding him was the staff that was around him.
Hmm.
And as you were able to see through all the pictures I took from there, I only got that one shot of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because a security guard like was almost like up at my ear, and she like did that startling yell like no pictures, and I jumped out of my skin. I'm like, okay, I'm putting my phone away now.
Yep, managed to sneak one in before they caught you.
Yeah, and then there were some others like Billy D. Williams and aka Lando Calrissian.
Oh yeah.
And like I took a picture of his booth before he was there, and they had all these signs explicitly posted that said no pictures whatsoever.
But it was funny though. I was looking through your pictures. Like, didn't you take a picture of him prior to like him coming to the con?
No, or if I did, then one, totally kick ass, and two, completely accidental.
Okay, because like I think you might have. Because I remember I saw a few pictures. Like, hey, is that Lando? Oh, cool. I think you took a picture of him without even noticing it. So
It's possible. I'd have to take another look through them. I mean, I only got the chance to look through my photos like maybe twice, and for everything that I had posted before having that part condensed, I had already cut down my total picture count by half.
gotcha. Let's step back a bit though to for people that are kind of figuring out exactly what this place looks like. So, the convention center in downtown Sacramento is the same place as Sac Anime is usually held on. The only difference is for Wizard World, they only use a part of the convention center rather than the whole thing. So you had like, okay, so you had basically like, I want to say 5 6 rooms used. The big room that they kind of used a lot of space for was the exhibit hall slash autograph signers, and pretty much majority of what Wizard World was located at. I can only imagine that there must have been so many comics and vendors at one time.
And I mean, and the thing is that again, to put this into some more context, for our listeners who have gone to SAC Anime and have seen what space it takes up in the convention center when that's being used, it completely dwarfs it. In no way, shape, or form is it even comparable.
How big would you say that? How much space did they use for that exhibit hall alone?
For what they used for Wizard World's Sacramento Comic Con, I'd say it was about between 3 to 4 times the space of the exhibit hall room that they give for SAC Anime.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
and it's completely necessary because and I've also taken quite a few of the crowd shots, but within the first couple hours or so, the entire floor space was completely filled, and I actually had to wait for about a couple minutes in some aisles just so that way I can move around people.
Welcome to LineCon. No, but it's funny that you mentioned that because when I first went to WonderCon back in San Francisco, like that was my first experience at a comic book convention type of deal. And the one thing I learned very quickly is like there are lines for everything. So I only imagine so it would be the same case for Wizard World.
And the thing is that if they do branch out and take the other areas like they quite frankly really should, then I can see them taking an entire exhibit hall area just for artists,
Hmm.
because um, because they had it organized where it was numerically organized for all the regular shopkeeps,
Hmm.
and then it was done alphabetically by rows A, B, and do they have a row C or no?
Man, I can't remember at the moment.
I think they had a row C, and it was like the backside of the artist alley before the famous people area.
Ah, I see. How for people who weren't there, how big, like how many artists were there? Artists on artist alley, I mean.
Oh man, it there were well there were a few artists that ended up taking just uh, unnaturally large stretches of booth space, and the sad part is that they completely needed it. Um, Altogether, I'd say that probably around 3 dozen artists were there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really seem like a huge number, but when you have one booth that's about, I don't know, 200 feet long,
Right.
it kind of puts things into a different set of perspective.
I see. Okay. Um, that's interesting. Ooh, la, 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 la.
And the booth in particular, I just remember the artist's name. It was Greg Horn. Um,
Okay.
and he had a huge section just dedicated to himself, and to his fellow artists that were all using the same area.
Hmm.
And then there was another one for Michael Golden.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who had purchased their tickets through Living Social, or from Amazon's deals, which I was surprised, had no idea that Amazon did their own little, prepaid ticket deals.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us who had paid that way, you'd be able to get a lithograph from him that wouldn't be made sellable to the public, and um, and he went ahead and started autographing everything. And for those of you who might not know who he is famous for doing some of the Walking Dead covers for the comics.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and he is also in the process of making a Jackie Chan comic, if I heard correctly.
Oh, wow.
And while I don't have the poster in front of me, I went ahead and purchased a certificate of authenticity, and it's supposed to be for a series. I believe it was called Spartan X. But
Hmm.
if I had the poster in front of me, I'd be able to give you some more details about it.
Right. Um, what were some of the things that stood out to you when you were there?
Uh, where to begin? um, well, for starters, I'm a regular SAC anime attendee, and so I know how they normally use the convention center. And the last time I had ever seen them use that large exhibit area, really at any occasion, was for a tattoo convention back in 2006.
Wow.
And I had never expected it to take up as much space as it did. Um, the fact that it was predominantly just all Western comics and art and everything like that, it was a refreshing change of pace, especially since we're used to going to conventions and seeing art and products from the Far East, aka Japan.
Right. It was a different vibe. It was a lot more comic book cosplays that you saw anime cosplays, which is like a real reverse as far as like what we're normally used to see in Sacramento when it comes to conventions. Um, I will admit there were a couple cosplays that really were great and just had me laugh.
especially the guys who were dressed up from Spaceballs.
Oh yeah, I only got to see the guy who's doing the parody version of Darth Vader.
Mhm.
And forgive me, it's been a good couple years since I've last seen Spaceballs on Comedy Central.
Right, right.
But I happened to catch his costume like out in the crowd, and I wanted to take a picture of him, but I was just never close enough to get anything decent.
Oh no, that's cool. But like, it was really cool. It was really funny too. Like when I was sitting down and they were walking around, and somebody asked him to do the uh, the salute, and they did it. I was cracking up so hard. Oh man, yeah.
And oh, and speaking of cosplayers, there were quite a few, more notable ones over there, such as Ivy Doom Kitty. She was on, she was on Fox News. I think she was on Fox 40 and KCRA 3, as well as a couple other news stations. Vegas PG, she was also there, and uh, it was Ryan Fry who cosplays as Edward Kenway and as Thor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I had the name correct.
Hmm.
And um, now that I think about it, there was actually a bit where both he and Chris Hemsworth were standing side by side, and they had their own little photo op, and it was pretty kick-ass, but I missed it.
Right, right. Yeah, it was a totally different vibe. I definitely, it was a lot more cosplayers that were, um, it was interesting now to think about it. The cosplayer age range for this convention that were in comic book cosplays were a bit older than the ones you usually see for anime conventions, which is again is a change of pace. Like I definitely like that. That whole no matter how old you are, you can still cosplay type of thing. Um, I have to say though, okay, so in one of your pictures, um, the Wolverine cosplayer that was shirtless and like has his arms up.
Oh yeah.
Okay, first of all, that dude is ridiculously buff. And second, like, is it me or does it look kind of weird that his arms are bigger than like his waist or like his core body? Like,
No, that was actually from an angling thing. I got to see him. He's pretty normally proportionate, but yeah, the waist is just a tad on the skinny side.
okay, yeah, because I saw it, I was like, that's it's kind of weird, but I mean, the guy is in ridiculous shape. I was like, that looks kind of weird.
And the thing is that humorously enough, he could do the peck dance, where he could like flex each one individually and make them bounce.
Nice. That was awesome.
And there was this huge crowd of ladies that were all swarming around him, and I was just standing there for about a good half hour watching him getting his picture taken with all these different fans. They're just like, oh my god, it's so hot.
Right, yeah. Um, what was it? So, were you able to attend any panels that they were holding?
Yes, I was actually able to. I mean, for not very long, but I was able to attend. I'd say the last half hour of the Chris Hemsworth panel,
Mhm.
and I have to say it was from there that I found out that like I mean he is a totally chill person.
Hmm.
I mean, and it was also there that I found out that Chris Hemsworth is Australian.
Hmm. Oh wow.
Yeah, I had no idea that he was from Australia.
Hmm. That's interesting. Huh.
And and when I was over at the panel, one fan actually asked him the question where, and again, I'm not fully aware of the context for this, but there was a panel with Tom Hiddleston,
Hmm.
who plays Loki
Hmm.
in the Thor movies and the Avengers, and someone had asked him if he had ever seen Chris Hemsworth naked, and I and supposedly he like started busting up laughing before he said that when Hemsworth's son was born, like that. that's Chris sent him a picture, and then apparently someone had asked him what was the case from his standpoint, and just like a true player, true team player, he went ahead and said, like, well, I don't remember like ever being naked around him, but then again, if you drill the hole in the wall, that's not really my deal. But a lot of people were speculating between the thoughts, saying that that it's possible that he was referring to his son as like saying, so if he saw a picture of him, then it would be like the same thing. I don't know. The whole event was played up for laughs. It was a lot of fun, and I actually did get a couple videos, but I fear that they're not really the best quality since I lacked a tripod and really anything to get something decent with.
Right, for sure. That's cool. I like when like voice actors and actors in general just like they play to the crowd and they're like really chill about it. That's pretty cool. I would have if I was there and I heard that question, I would have cracked up, like bust out laughing instantly. um, the thing and for people who didn't know, I also attended the event, but it was on a Saturday. I spent the day majority outside taking pictures and hanging out with friends. Not on business actually, kind of a different field than I'm used to at conventions. But the thing I noticed the most was that when I was outside taking pictures, there were, and I eventually did get inside. It was crowded. I mean, like I can't. I mean, we can't state that enough, but it was actually crowded to the point to where I guess majority of everybody was in the exhibit hall, if I'm correct, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, the entire place, from inside outside, regardless of where you were, that whole area was just as swamped as it could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
I think like, uh, well, how they portray it in the movies, the Indian bazaar sort of look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was, except things were parked a little closer to each other.
Right.
So that much more condensed.
Right. My general consensus, along with a few of my friends, as we kind of figured out what was being offered there at the con, and what the price was for the whole weekend, and then pre-order tickets for. We felt like that it was probably good to just go for a day. Like I don't think like for the whole weekend it warranted the full price of admission, just because what they offered was it felt like WonderCon Junior is what we felt like, and
Yeah.
it did feel like that for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that just basing it off of my experience over at WonderCon, it did feel pretty much the exact same, just on a slightly smaller scale. Only because with WonderCon, their track for their convention center was almost a mile long,
Mm-hmm.
or at least it felt like it.
Right.
Um, but honestly, I felt with the way that the convention was set up, with what booths they had, what events they had, and what people they had, that they could have done with having the tickets lower, especially since you had, in many cases, had to prepay for tickets to meet, take pictures with, or get autographs of celebrities. And for some context for you listeners out there, Chris Hemsworth, the guy who plays Thor, if you wanted to get his autograph on a simple 8x10, it was $150. $150 just for an 8x10 that's already pre-printed. And I mean, admittedly, that could, it could be a really great print, but it, just, from prior experience, they're okay shots, or just like, portfolio shots. So nothing terribly fancy, but say if you brought in your copy of Thor, or if you happen to have a replica Mjolnir hammer, or anything like that you wanted to have him sign off on, it was $200.
Oh wow.
And then, of course, if you wanted to get a signature from William Shatner, it was $75. And many of the stars there, they had their own prices. Lou Ferrigno, he had his charges at $30 for an autograph, 40. I think it was either $40 or $45 for a picture with him, and Uriah Faber, and like apparently like nobody really paid attention to him coming there, since I got there right when the autographs opened for him, and I was second person in line, and I talked with him for I'd say maybe about 15 minutes before someone else showed up, and it was still $30 to get his autograph. But in all fairness, the payments that was set up for that is supposed to be a charitable donation to Shriners Hospital, since that's what Faber has put his collections towards.
I see. That's cool. I like that. That's pretty awesome. Did you buy anything at Wizard World when you were there?
Yes, I did. So I did, of course, buy a signature from Uriah Faber, and I think I might have actually included a shot of that. I don't know if you deleted that from the collection or not, but that was for my significant other.
Yeah, I saw that. I would only assume that that was for your significant other, not for yourself, unless you swing that way. I mean, I have no problems with that. Yeah.
Jeez, Anthony, don't tell everyone my secret. Kidding aside, though, I bought that. I got myself a lithograph from Michael Golden. I did purchase myself a set of comics from Epic Ashcan presses, and it's a comic series called Oberon Destroyers. I've yet to have a chance to really crack into it, but I got a chance to meet up with a guy, and we talked for a good while, and being a starting artist, he was looking at getting his work published, and I figured, hey, I'll give it a check, and I'll be sure to review it in the near future. And but aside from that, though, I ended up buying a couple other knickknacks, but really everything there, it was either A, something I already had, or B, something that I didn't have enough money for, and it was mostly the latter, since I only had about $60 on me.
Right. No, it's cool. It's last time I was at WonderCon, I bought some stuff when I was there too, and it feels like, I guess it's the same thing at Comic-Con. I've been to you, but I had the same feeling that it depends. Like if you have enough money to like kind of throw around, like your experience may vary. Like if you got like maybe like $30-$20, to spend at Wizard World, like that may not last you, like as far as like getting stuff at the convention.
Seriously, and being totally candid, I actually think that there are a set of monetary thresholds for enjoyment at the convention.
Oh, for sure.
Now, if you're not really a big spender, or you just like going for the experience, then by all means, the ticket price itself, it is a little steep, but if you pay for it ahead of time, then the cost will be lower. Plus, if you're able to find deals such as what Living Social had available, you'll be able to get, heck, they were selling Friday tickets for $24, and the tickets themselves were, I think, $40 plus the $4.95 service fee, and that was for online purchasing. So, if you can find a good deal, totally worth going. Now, if you're a con goer like myself, where you like to buy things, I'd say at minimum you should probably pack somewhere around $150 to $250. If you have anything more than that, then by all means, you're going to be like a kid in a candy store. You're going to find great articles just everywhere you go.
Oh yeah, for sure. You'll have a smorgasbord of just everything that you wanted to buy, geek or comic book wise or whatever, into that culture. yeah, I think last thing I bought from a comic convention was, let's see, I remember I bought a 20-sided die. Uh, I bought some comic books when I was there. Oh, one of the things that I still have, and it's so awesome. I went to the artist alley, and this guy, he drew a comic book cover of the uh, back then. Conan O'Brien on his show was with they visited WB Studios, and they created this character based on him, which then they put into the animated series of Young Justice, and then eventually he was a skin in the Injustice video game later on. But long story short, this guy created a comic book cover of the Crimson. I don't know what it's called. It was fuck, I forgot his name already. Shit, it was
The Crimson Quaff.
no, I can't remember exactly the name, but it was basically a kind of parody of him, of Conan O'Brien, and he had everything that they put that WB put on him. So like he had the upper mitt, he had he had the shoes with like the garter belts that he was wearing. It was really awesome. I still have it. It's so freaking cool.
Oh yeah, I've
Oh,
seen it.
it was
The Flaming
yes,
Sea.
Flaming Sea. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was
I figured I had to look that up.
right.
Well, you,
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
I still have it. It's really cool. It's one things I still have when I move or wherever I go to, when I frame that.
So them fishnets, though.
I know, right? Yeah, but yeah, like Chris said, like your mileage will vary depending on how much money you have. Now, this is only specifically at comic conventions. Like, um, anime conventions is a whole nother story. You can come into the anime convention, you have about just the amount for food and hotel costs and travel stuff, and that's all you need. But like at comic conventions, it's just like, well, you kind of need a lot of money to you know have fun, I guess, in a way. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much Wizard there
Yeah.
wasn't much to talk about. I mean, it was given the fact this is the first time they've been in Sacramento. They've been to other places, and this convention has been kind of a thing for a while, but it was the first time in Sacramento, and I think that you know round two will be interesting to see what they do. Hopefully, they'll use the entire convention center. Although I can't confirm this, I did hear a rumor when I was there that they plan to move to the Civic Center, Civic Community Center. Which is that bigger than the convention center, or is that the same size, or?
To be fair, I didn't hear that rumor, but I would think that the Civic Center should be of comparable size. Just because in Sacramento, it's like everything is pretty structured. It's none of the buildings really exceed like a standard view of like what you would expect to be there. Like you have a convention center, it has an expected frame of size. So I don't know. Let me go ahead and look that up really quick.
Okay. And while you do that,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just talking for a sec, but go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh, okay. Now, why are you looking that up? So, the other convention that Chris went to, and I've been to many, many, many years and many times over and over again, was SatCon. And SatCon is basically a one-day small-time convention. It's kind of there to I guess, for the casual nerd or the casual geek to go and wants to go and just in cosplay, or want to go buy some comic books or anything like collectible or play games or whatever. Kind of like get together in a way. And SatCon's been around for a long, long time. Like I would say, like around 2000.
Yeah, I'd say it's been around since at least 2000. I think they could have, they might have moved there to the Scottish Rite Center from most likely Sunrise Mall, somewhere around like 98, because I think it's been around for a lot longer than that.
For sure. Um, so yeah, it's definitely yeah, it's definitely been a convention for a while. And Chris, you went and covered it actually.
Yeah, I did have the opportunity to go and cover that event. It was, I mean, it was a nice change of pace, to go there. And I mean, it wasn't anything too big. It's just, like if you want to go there just to relax, maybe, get a bit of memorabilia that you normally wouldn't find. And plus, if you're looking at something small scale, then it seems to be right up your alley. But at the same time, I actually wouldn't recommend that for a first time con goer.
Yeah, I'd say it. I recommend it for the casual, like the very very casual people, or if you have friends and you want to hang out for a day and you want to do that type of thing, then go for it. Nothing's really stopping you from doing so. But for a lot of us, I would probably suggest when you're growing up, when you're like young, like your early teenage years to I'd say your early almost adulthood, like I guess you can go check it out. Because for majority of my time at SatCon, like I grew up going to SatCon a lot with friends, and kind of going there and doing cosplays and kind of learning the culture of whatnot of what I am today. And it did serve its purpose for me, but after all, I stopped going just because I've seen once you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah, and I don't mean this in any offense to SatCon, because it is still a nice event, but for the way that the convention is just set up, it's uh, for lack of a better word, it feels too stagnant. And I don't mean that like in the sense that it's rotten, it's gone bad, but like from the dictionary term where it's like still water. It doesn't really have that same vitality to it anymore. Because oh, I was just gonna say that's like from when it first started out, it was a nice place to go to. It was relaxing. It felt vibrant in its own respects. But now it's, I don't know. It just feels a little too commercialized, and yet at the same time, it I don't know. It kind of feels like the PBS of cable
I
stations.
hear you just saying. Um, the thing is funny though is that and again, I go back to Zack Anime and even Wizard World too. It's like sometimes they'll get in like big name voice actors to come to SatCon. Like I remember, I think it was like last year. I wanted to go, but I couldn't go. But they got freaking Billy West to come down to SatCon one year. Um, Greg DiMaggio to come down. Travis Williams. Like they're bringing like these big name actors
And
to come down. I was like, how? Just for a 1 day con too, which is like, how do you? That's
and
cool, but wow.
well, like, and to be totally fair, I actually did get to meet DiMaggio at one of the SatCons, and like it seems that when they have a decent actor over there, that it brings in a pretty good crowd.
Hmm.
Otherwise, uh, I don't know. I would say that for the way that SatCon is set up, that it only has two very very specific age brackets that it works for. If you're not within that bracket, then it's just not gonna really work out for you.
Yeah.
And for those demographics, I would say that if you're between the ages of 8 to 15, not 16, but 15, then it works out well for that demographic because it does have a lot of stuff that caters to the newer generation. It does have memorabilia for new shows like New 52, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and some of the more current anime that's going on. And it's also designed to work with a crowd from ages 30 to, I'd say 30 to 50, because I'd say around 50 to maybe around 65% of the convention is full of like old classic stuff like Kiss toys and comics. And for those of us who have never heard of Kiss, one, shame on you. And two, you guys don't know how to rock and roll all night and party every day.
Of course, you gotta respect the classics. But yeah, like Chris said, like it's definitely it's definitely targeted towards different age groups. It's not,
and there's really no in between.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm 22, and I went there, and again, to be completely fair, there was really not a whole lot of anything that terribly drew my interest. I thought, oh hey, this is neat, this is cool, but there was nothing really there that compelled me to either buy anything or try out anything, or heck, get terribly involved with what was there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a nice crowd. The people there are nice, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it just really doesn't fill that demographic of anyone between the ages of 16 to 29.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But it's been there for ages, and I like to think of it like as a museum, as it were. Like this is the place where it kind of started, and it's still going to be here, and it's like cool to visit every once in a while. But yeah, like it's definitely a place where if you want to go back and relive those memories once more, you can. So, but yeah, I mean, what's your general over thoughts about Wizard World?
Wizard World, I have to say that's one. I didn't find out about them coming into Sacramento until like about 2 weeks before the convention. So for them to have an event here in Sacramento, it's fantastic, and I don't fault them for that. I just really wish I had the heads up, well in advance.
Mm-hmm.
On the whole, for experience, it's completely different from what I'm normally used to seeing and attending. But I have to say that it is hands down a fun experience. But again, keep in mind the monetary thresholds that I had mentioned before. As long as you have a lot of money, then, I mean, I know for a fact that you're going to have a great time there. But at the same time, I don't want that statement to come off as anything elitist. You don't have to have a lot of money to enjoy yourself over there. It's just that for a lot of stuff that they do have, it helps tremendously to have a lot of cash. And in fact, to make reference to the Greg Horn booth again, they happen to have a special Wolverine comic where it was one of those rare limited .98 prints that was framed not framed, but encased in the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the hard plastic. If you were to get the one that has the both the black and white and the color covers, so 2 comics that only had about 50 and 35 prints apiece. And I can't remember if that was 50 for black and white and 35 for color, or if it was the other way around. But just for those 2 comics, you were looking at shelling out $600.
Mm-hmm.
Not an exaggeration. It was $600, but you got 10 of their limited edition prints, you got 10 of their prints for free. And each one of those prints came out to, I think, $25 a piece normally. So, to put it in that perspective, I mean, you're walking away with $850 worth of stuff just in one transaction. So, if you really wanted to, take full advantage of what everything has to be offered there, having lots of cash on hand does help. And if you wanted to enjoy the VIP experiences, I saw some tickets ranged anywhere up to around $500 to get your picture with the celebrity, to get their autographs and everything like that. So for the fullest experience, unfortunately, it does have that monetary threshold. But for anything that's under that. I mean, you can still have a great time. They do have a booths that accommodates to those that aren't as financially well off. And heck, there were even comic shops that were selling a lot of issues. Some of them pretty rare for starting at $2 a piece.
For sure.
So it's really just a matter of where you're going.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, to cap off my exceedingly long explanation, having lots of cash helps. Totally not necessary. It's a great event to go to, and one perk that I do want to make mention of is if you buy your tickets in advance and you do have kids, they did give out each adult ticket. There were 2 free children's tickets that did come along. So for the parent that wants to bring their child there, as long as they're 10 years of age or under, they come in for free. No worries.
Well said. Very well said. That's gonna do it for us tonight. Where can I find you on the internet, Chris?
You guys can find me on the Mission Start podcast website. I am in the process of working out a few other things, and there is actually a little project that I'm working on that's that can help you guys show off your pride for us. More information will come out soon, and I'm looking at hopefully getting everything finalized within the next couple weeks. So, hopefully you guys should see that both on our Facebook page and off of the website itself. And I mean, aside from that, you guys can find me through text on our Facebook page, and of course on our podcasts here on the website.
Cool. You can follow me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that me and Chris do along with this podcast on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on Stitcher and iTunes on all 3 of our podcasts that we have right now, and be sure to check out our awesome content, especially with all the reviews that we've been busting out as of late. By the time you listen to this, be sure to check out the review of South Park: The Stick of Truth, because that game is funny as hell. But yeah, so anyways.
Oh, and one last thing. Don't forget to check us out on twitch.com as well.
Yes, where we stream stuff from time to time. Yeah, we'll play more games when you guys want us to, so who knows. But anyways, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.